Life is a rehearsal, waiting for the right moment to start smiling, waiting for the perfect job, the perfect relationship, or the perfect future. But here is the truth. Life is not a rehearsal. It is happening right now. Every second that passes is gone forever, never to return. Think about the sunrise you missed because you were too busy rushing, or the laughter of a loved one you ignored because you were thinking of tomorrow's problems. The joy of life is not hidden in the future, it is in the present. When you learn to enjoy each moment, even the simplest ones like sipping water, walking under the sky, or feeling your breath, you begin to understand that happiness is not something to chase, but something to live. Great masters and great leaders didn't wait for someday to be happy. They discovered that every day is someday if you choose it. Now, I want to share with you 12 powerful ways to truly enjoy every minute of your life and discover how to be happy now. Number 1. Gratitude turns the ordinary into extraordinary. Gratitude is the doorway through which happiness enters the heart. So often, people wait for something grand to happen before they allow themselves to feel grateful, winning an award, getting a promotion, buying a new house. Yet, the real beauty of life is that the extraordinary is often disguised in the ordinary. The quiet morning when you hear birds singing, the warmth of sunlight on your face, the sound of your loved one's laughter, these are not small things. These are life itself. And when you learn to pause, notice, and whisper, "Thank you," even for something as simple as drinking a glass of water, your life takes on a richness that no amount of money or achievement can ever replace. I remember a time when I was traveling alone in the mountains. The climb was long and exhausting. For hours, I carried a heavy backpack under the blazing sun day. My mouth was dry, and each step felt like it took more from me than I had to give. Finally, I stopped, sat down on a rock, and reached into my bag for a bottle of water. As I drank slowly, feeling the coolness touch my lips and flow down my throat, I realized something profound. I had taken water for granted my entire life. Every day I drank without thinking, but in that moment of thirst, water felt like a miracle. That single sip taught me more about gratitude than years of lectures or books ever could. I didn't need riches or luxury, just awareness of what I already had. From then on, every glass of water became a silent blessing. This is what gratitude does. It shifts the way you see. Instead of complaining that life is hard, you begin to notice that life is generous. The air you breathe is free. The body that carries you every day, even when you neglect it, continues to serve you tirelessly. The opportunities to see, to hear, to walk, to smile, these are treasures countless people are longing for. And when you wake up to this truth, you stop feeling empty. You stop chasing happiness outside because you realize it is already flowing within you. Gratitude doesn't erase difficulties, but it changes the way you experience them. When you practice it, even challenges start to look like teachers. A failure is no longer just pain, it is a gift of wisdom. A loss is no longer just sorrow, it is a reminder of how deeply you loved. Gratitude teaches you that nothing is wasted, that every moment, whether joyful or painful, carries something valuable for your growth. So, if you want to make your life extraordinary, don't wait for the extraordinary to arrive. Look around right now. Find 3 things you can thank life for: your breath, your vision, your family, your strength, your resilience. Gratitude is not just a thought, it is a daily practice. And when you live in this way, you will discover that happiness is not a destination. Happiness is gratitude in action, and gratitude transforms the ordinary into a miracle. Number 2. Stop waiting for tomorrow. One of the greatest traps in life is the illusion of tomorrow. We tell ourselves, I will start living when I have enough money. I will be happy when I get married. I will take care of myself after I retire. And without realizing it, we postpone our happiness, our dreams, and even our peace of mind. Tomorrow becomes a promise that never comes, because every time tomorrow arrives, it disguises itself as today, and still, we keep waiting. The truth is this: the only time you will ever have is now. The past is gone, the future is uncertain, and life is lived only in this very breath. I remember a phase in my own journey when I was always planning for the future. I would say, once I finish this project, I will finally rest. Once I reach this milestone, I will finally feel fulfilled. But whenever I arrived at that milestone, my mind was already chasing the next one. I had trained myself to delay joy, to postpone peace. And in doing so, I missed countless beautiful moments along the way. There was a particular day that changed me. I was sitting at my desk, exhausted after weeks of work, and my young nephew came running into the room. He asked me to come outside and play. My first instinct was to say, not now, maybe tomorrow. But when I looked into his eyes, I realized something. Tomorrow is not guaranteed for me, and it's not guaranteed for him. That day, I left my desk, went outside, and played with him. The joy in his laughter, the way the wind felt on my face, the simplicity of being present, those moments are still alive in my memory. If I had waited for tomorrow, I would have missed them forever. This is why we must stop postponing life. The perfect conditions you are waiting for may never arrive. Life is not about waiting for storms to pass or waiting for the stars to align. Life is about dancing in the rain, about enjoying the sky exactly as it is, cloudy or clear. Happiness is not hidden in the future. It is hidden in the present moment, waiting for you to notice it. Think about how many people say, one day I will travel. One day I will write my book. One day I will tell my loved ones how much they mean to me. And then one day never comes. The graveyards of this world are full of unspoken words, unwritten books, and unlived dreams, all because people were waiting for tomorrow. So if you truly want to learn to enjoy life, stop waiting. Start now. Drink your tea slowly. Call someone you love. Go for that walk. Begin writing that first page. Happiness does not come later. It comes the moment you choose it. And the moment you stop waiting for tomorrow, you will realize that today is more than enough. Number 3. Find joy in simplicity. In a world where everyone is chasing more money, more possessions, more recognition, it is easy to forget that joy is not hidden in complexity, but in simplicity. The truth is, happiness is not always found in the grand events of life. It often lives quietly in the unnoticed corners. A simple meal with someone you love, a quiet evening walk under the open sky, the sound of rain falling against your window. These are treasures that many overlook because they seem too ordinary. But when you learn to pause and truly see them, you begin to realize that the simple moments are the foundation of a joyful life. I remember a time when I was overwhelmed with responsibilities. My schedule was full, my mind was restless, and my heart felt heavy. One evening, I decided to step outside and take a walk with no destination, no phone, no agenda, just me and the world. I ended up sitting on a bench near a small park. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. Children were playing, laughing freely without care, and an elderly man nearby was feeding birds from his hands. In that simple scene, something inside me shifted. I realized that the joy I had been searching for in achievements and recognition was right there, in front of me, in the simplest things. I didn't need anything extra to be happy, I just needed to be present and grateful. That evening taught me that simplicity is not lack, it is richness in its purest form. The problem is, many of us are so caught up in chasing bigger dreams that we fail to notice the small blessings. We think happiness requires expensive vacations, luxury cars, or perfect conditions. But ask yourself, does the taste of fresh bread change depending on the price of the plate it's served on? Does the feeling of fresh air filling your lungs depend on the brand of your clothes? Real joy does not come from excess, it comes from awareness. And awareness thrives in simplicity. When you find joy in simplicity, life becomes lighter. You stop carrying the weight of needing more and start appreciating what already exists. You stop running endlessly and start noticing the beauty around you. The sound of your loved one's voice becomes a song. The warmth of a cup of tea becomes a blessing. Even the act of waking up in the morning and feeling your breath becomes a reason to smile. Simplicity also teaches you contentment. It doesn't mean you stop dreaming or growing. but it means you stop postponing happiness until you achieve more. You realize you can be joyful on the way, not just at the destination. So, learn to simplify. Disconnect from distractions for a while. Sit quietly, breathe, and notice the life around you. Enjoy the taste of your food, the laughter of a friend, the comfort of your home. Happiness is not complicated, it is simple. And when you learn to find joy in simplicity, you will realize that life has been offering you happiness every single day, waiting only for you to notice. Number 4. Detach from endless comparisons. One of the greatest thieves of happiness is comparison. From the moment we wake up, we are bombarded with images, stories, and voices that whisper, "Look at them. They are happier than you, richer than you, more successful than you." And without realizing it, we measure our lives against someone else's highlight reel. But comparison is a game with no end and no winners, because no matter who you are, there will always be someone ahead of you in some area. The truth is, your journey was never meant to be identical to anyone else's. You were created unique, and your happiness is found not in competing, but in living authentically. I remember a phase in my life when I constantly compared myself to others. A friend would buy a new car, and I would immediately feel like I was falling behind. Another would share pictures of exotic travels, and I would start questioning the value of my own quiet life. Social media made it worse. I could scroll for just 5 minutes and walk away with a heart full of dissatisfaction. But then, something powerful happened. One evening, after scrolling endlessly, I closed my phone and looked around my room. My parents were sitting in the next room, laughing and talking together. I realized that while I had been comparing my life to strangers on a screen, I was overlooking the priceless blessings right in front of me. That was the moment I understood. Comparison blinds you to your own joy. When you compare, you are not seeing the full picture. You see someone's success, but not their struggles. You see their smiles, but not their tears. And in chasing their life, you miss out on living your own. Detachment from comparison is not about ignoring the world. It's about freeing yourself from the prison of measuring your worth against others. Happiness comes when you realize that your value is not determined by what others achieve, but by who you are becoming. Think about this. The sun does not compare itself to the moon, and yet both shine in their own time. A rose does not envy the lotus, and yet both bloom beautifully in their own way. In the same way, your life has its own timing, its own purpose, its own beauty. When you embrace this truth, you no longer need to run in someone else's race. You begin to walk peacefully in your own. Detaching from comparison requires practice. It begins with gratitude, acknowledging what you already have. It continues with awareness, reminding yourself that what you see is never the whole story. And it grows into self-love, understanding that your journey matters, even if it looks different from others. So, if you want to enjoy every minute of your life, stop looking sideways and start looking inward. Your joy will never be found in someone else's reflection. It will be found in your own acceptance. Remember, the day you stop comparing is the day you start living fully. Number 5, celebrate small wins. Life is made up of countless steps, but most people only celebrate when they reach the mountaintop. They wait until the big achievement, the graduation, the promotion, the dream house, to feel proud. But happiness does not come only at the destination. It is built along the journey. When you learn to honor the small wins, the little progress, the everyday victories, you create a constant flow of joy. Because the truth is, no great achievement was ever built in one giant leap. It was always the result of small steps taken consistently. I still remember the time I decided to build a habit of daily exercise. At the beginning, it felt overwhelming. I looked at others who had already achieved strong bodies and disciplined routines, and I felt discouraged. But instead of giving up, I made a promise to myself. I would celebrate even the smallest effort. If I managed 10 push-ups, I would smile and count it as a victory. If I resisted the urge to skip one day, I would clap for myself. The first week was shaky, but every small win I acknowledged gave me strength to continue. Months later, not only had my body grown stronger, but my mind had shifted too. I learned that celebrating progress, no matter how small, creates momentum. That lesson extended beyond fitness. It applied to my work, my relationships, and my personal growth. The danger of ignoring small wins is that you live in constant dissatisfaction. You may have written one page of your book, but instead of celebrating, you scold yourself for not finishing the whole thing. You may have saved a little money, but you dismiss it because it's not enough for your dream. You may have taken the first step toward healing or change, but you belittle it because it feels insignificant. This is why so many people lose motivation. They don't give themselves credit for the steps they are already taking. Celebrating small wins is not about pretending you have reached the finish line. It's about honoring the fact that you are moving forward. It's about recognizing that growth is a process, not an instant transformation. Every drop of water may seem small, but together they form an ocean. Every small win is a seed that grows into confidence, resilience, and joy. When you begin to notice and celebrate these little victories, life becomes lighter. You no longer feel like you are always chasing a distant dream. You realize you are already living parts of that dream today. That first walk in the morning, that first conversation where you spoke with courage, that first attempt at something new, these are not trivial. They are proof that you are growing. So, celebrate yourself. Celebrate that you woke up today. Celebrate that you tried even if you failed. Celebrate that you are not where you used to be. The more you practice this, the more happiness you will find in the journey itself. And when the big victories finally come, you will realize they are not the only treasures. Your joy has been with you all along, hidden inside every small win you chose to honor. Number 6. Turn daily routines into rituals. Most people see their daily routines as ordinary tasks, something to get done quickly so they can move on to the important things. They brush their teeth, drink their coffee, clean their room, or commute to work almost mechanically, without awareness or presence. Yet, hidden inside these everyday acts is a profound opportunity. If you approach them with mindfulness and intention, routines can become rituals that nourish your soul. Rituals are not about complexity or ceremony. They are about transforming the ordinary into something meaningful, grounding, and joyful. I discovered this truth during one of the busiest times of my life. My days were long, filled with responsibilities that left me drained. Everything felt like a chore, and even the simplest tasks became burdensome. But one morning, instead of rushing through breakfast, I decided to slow down. I brewed my tea carefully, noticing the warmth of the cup in my hands, the gentle rising steam, the fragrance filling the air. As I sipped slowly, I realized I had turned an ordinary routine into a sacred pause, a moment of peace before the chaos of the day. That small shift in awareness changed everything. What used to be a rushed act of fueling my body became a ritual of gratitude and presence. From then on, I began looking at all my routines differently. This practice taught me that it's not about what you are doing, it's about how you are doing it. Cleaning your room can feel like a boring obligation, or it can be a ritual of creating order and harmony in your space. Cooking can feel like a chore, or it can be a ritual of nourishing your body and showing love to those who share the meal. Walking to work can feel like wasted time, or it can be a ritual of connecting with your breath, observing the world around you, and grounding yourself in the present moment. When you approach life this way, you stop rushing through your days as if you are waiting for them to be over. Instead, you begin to savor each moment as it comes. And the beauty is, you no longer need extraordinary events to feel happiness. Your daily life itself becomes extraordinary. Every sip of water, every moment of silence, every sunrise you notice turns into a source of joy. I often think back to that morning with my tea. It reminded me that life is not lived only in grand moments, but in thousands of small acts repeated daily. If those acts are done mindlessly, life feels empty. But if those acts are done with love and awareness, life feels sacred. So, ask yourself, which of your routines can you transform into rituals? Begin small. Choose one thing: your morning coffee, your evening walk, your journaling, or even the way you greet your loved ones. Do it with presence, gratitude, and intention. Soon, you will discover that happiness is not somewhere far away. It is hidden inside the rituals of your daily life, waiting to be awakened. Number 7. Embrace imperfections. So many people live trapped by the idea of perfection. They tell themselves, I will be happy when I look perfect, when my work is flawless, when my life has no mistakes. But perfection is an illusion, a moving target that always shifts the moment you think you've reached it. The more you chase it, the more exhausted you become. True happiness comes when you release the need to be perfect and learn to embrace your imperfections, not as weaknesses, but as unique parts of your human journey. I remember a time when I used to fear making mistakes. Whenever I started something new, whether it was speaking in front of others, learning a skill, or even building relationships, I would overthink every detail. I wanted to appear confident, strong, and capable. But in that constant pursuit of being flawless, I lost my authenticity. One day, during a public talk, I stumbled on my words and forgot an important point I wanted to make. For a moment I froze, feeling embarrassed, convinced I had ruined everything. But then something unexpected happened. The audience smiled, some even nodded with understanding. I realized they weren't judging me, they were connecting with me. In that vulnerable moment, my imperfection made me more human, more relatable, and more real. From that day, I understood that people are not drawn to perfection, they are drawn to authenticity. Embracing imperfections doesn't mean settling for less or avoiding growth. It means understanding that mistakes are part of progress, flaws are part of beauty, and cracks are part of strength. Just like a piece of pottery becomes more valuable in Japanese kintsugi art when its cracks are filled with gold, your scars and struggles make you more unique and precious. The parts of yourself you once wanted to hide may be the very parts that inspire others. Think about nature. No mountain is perfectly shaped, no tree grows in a straight line, no river flows without bends. Yet we look at them with awe, not criticism. Why then do we expect ourselves to be flawless when life itself is built on imperfection? When you begin to embrace your imperfections, life feels lighter. You stop carrying the weight of unrealistic expectations. You stop punishing yourself for not being enough. Instead, you begin to see mistakes as lessons, failures as stepping stones, and flaws as evidence that you are alive and growing. The pressure to appear perfect disappears, and in its place comes freedom, the freedom to be yourself fully. I often remind myself that the most meaningful connections I've made in life were not through moments of perfection, but through shared struggles, shared vulnerabilities, and shared humanity. When I look back, the times I laughed the hardest, learned the most, and felt the deepest happiness were always when things didn't go exactly as planned. So, embrace your imperfections. Smile at your mistakes. Be kind to yourself when you fall. Remember, life does not demand perfection, it demands presence. And when you accept yourself as you are, with all your flaws and cracks, you will realize that happiness was never about being perfect. It was always about being real. Number 8, live with presence, not distraction. One of the greatest challenges of our time is distraction. Our minds are constantly pulled in 100 directions by phones, notifications, endless to-do lists, and worries about yesterday or tomorrow. And because of this, most people are rarely fully here. They are eating while scrolling, talking while thinking about something else, walking while lost in worries. But happiness does not live in distraction. Happiness lives in presence. To live fully, you must learn to give your attention to the moment unfolding before you, because the present is the only place where life truly exists. I learned this lesson deeply during a family dinner years ago. My parents, siblings, and I were gathered around the table, but I wasn't really there.